If you're thinking about moving to Celina, Texas, listen closely, because while this place may look perfect on paper, if you choose the wrong neighborhood, it could cost you tens of thousands of dollars, destroy your commute, and you could end up in a community that just doesn't really fit your lifestyle. In this video, I'm going to break down the 12 things most people don't realize about living in Celina, Texas, and the smart moves that can help you avoid those expensive mistakes. My name is Preston, and I've helped hundreds of people from all over the country, all over the world, relocate right here to the Dallas area. I'm a top 1% real estate agent, and I was on the cover of Real Producers magazine, and I'm basically going to be breaking down and covering everything you need to know about moving to Celina, Texas here in this video. Number one, Celina is growing so fast that some areas just can't keep up, and with this, a lot of these communities, they have these amazing master plans. You see all these renderings, these videos of what it's going to look like and how beautiful it's going to be, but what you have to realize is for many, many years, these communities look like basically war zones. It almost looks like Mars because there are homes and construction going on everywhere. If you are in the very early phases of a home or a neighborhood, it could be a huge advantage long-term as far as appreciation goes. The downside could be that basically you're living in a construction zone for many, many years as things progress. So there's just something you have to realize. You're gonna have less mature trees. There's gonna be a lot of dust. You're gonna have to clean out those air filters more often than normal. And then these amenity centers that they promise, a lot of times those come years after those first homes have been built. If this is going to be an issue for you, I would suggest looking at communities that have been developed for quite some time, maybe someplace like Light Farms, for example, because these communities are like 5-10 phases in where everything is already there, it's already built. And I would also suggest driving these communities at different parts of the day, maybe in the morning, see what the commute's like what is the vibe like, because you can absolutely love a house and the way it looks, but you need to love the community you're in, and the best way to do that is by spending time in that community at different times of the day. Number two is a really big one, and that is you'll pay more than you think because of taxes. Now, Celina, Texas, in general, in these master plan communities are going to have a little bit higher tax rate, and that's because a lot of these communities have what's called a MUD, municipal utility district, and a PID, and basically these are tacked on taxes on these communities so they can bring these developments into these rural areas. So when they bought the land, it's basically just sitting there, it's not developed, there's not a lot going on. They have to bring in the streets, the electrical, the gas lines, and to help fund that, they add additional taxes to these areas. Now, people hate this, but otherwise these communities would never be built. A lot of them wouldn't. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that I have a lot of people that reach out through this channel, and they basically say, we do not want to buy a home in a MUD or a PID. Well, I would just caution you on that to look at the numbers overall, because I will say that there are some places that do not have a MUD or a PID tax, and the place that does have a MUD or PID tax right across the street will have homes that are $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 cheaper than the place that doesn't have the PID tax. Pick the best community for your family and have somebody run the numbers. Of course, that's probably going to be your lender. They run the numbers to see if it's going to work for you, and don't make your decision based solely on the tax rate, because you may be able to get a much better deal at a lower cost, better interest rate in that community with the higher tax rate, because they have to be competitive to get you in there. Number three, your commute might be a deal breaker. So if you're somebody who's working from home or remote, it's not going to be a problem. Or if you're even somebody working in the northern Dallas suburbs, where actually most of the jobs are being located now, so places like Plano and Frisco and McKinney, those commutes aren't going to be very bad. But if you are somebody who's going to have to commute all the way to Dallas, Texas, maybe Fort Worth, the commute times can be, depending on traffic, an hour plus. Now, they are expanding the toll road all the way up through Celina, which is going to be a huge help for those of you who do commute through Prosper and Frisco. So one thing I tell people to do if they are thinking about looking in these outer skirt type areas like Celina, Texas for the time being, is to, when you're sitting at home, wherever you're sitting, look at the commute times from Celina to wherever you're planning on commuting to. As far as work goes, check it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the rush hour, in the mornings, and just check that on a regular basis to see if that's something that's going to work for you. Number four is not all builders are created equal, and that's probably something you already knew, because there are building and neighborhoods going on everywhere all over Celina. And one of the things I love about Celina is the variety of price points. So tons of different options to choose from, but not all builders are going to be created equal. Some of them are going to be better than others as far as build quality, their warranty, and what they provide you. So some of these are going kind of corners, while others are going to give you amazing customer service, longer warranties, and all that. So this typical standard warranty with these builders is going to be a 1-2-10. 1 year covers absolutely everything on the home besides like caulking and paint, but everything else is covered. All the major items like AC, water heater are going to be covered for 2 years, and then you're going to get a 6 to 10 year warranty on those foundations. And the only builder that I know of that does a 2-year coverage on absolutely everything is going to be Perry Homes. So there's some builders much better than others, and that's why it's important to connect with somebody like me or another agent that has tons of experience to basically get the ins and outs of each one of these builders and which one you're going to be the most happy with, because I work with tons of people, I work with tons of builders, and with that you get lots of experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's just going to save you a lot of time and headache. And one thing I would suggest with that is don't just walk these places model homes, because most of these model homes are tricked out with hundreds of thousands of dollars in upgrades, especially in the higher price points. A great example would be Grand Homes. Grand Homes probably spends more on their model upgrades than any other builder known to man. It's over the top, it's ridiculous, it kind of looks cool on video, but it's just most people are never going to spend that kind of money, and if you do, the home isn't going to appraise. So I would suggest to not only go to the model homes, but go and walk multiple spec homes, see how things are laid out, see what products they're using behind the walls, and all those things are going to help you sleep a little bit better at night and know that you're picking the right home. Number 5 is that a lot of these neighborhoods can look exactly the same. So some of these communities are just crazy master plan communities with a dozen builders, lots of variety, everything is completely different, but a lot of the communities are going to be on the smaller side, and they're basically going to have 3, 5, 6 floor plans, maybe a couple builders. Some communities only have 1 builder, and with that you're going to have a lot of repetition in that whole cookie cutter motto that a lot of people like to stray away from. Some of these builders, for instance, DR Horton, they get a bad rep. I've had a lot of good experiences with them, though. They just build 10 times the amount as other builders, so the bad things are going to happen. But one of the things I do not like is that they build some of these communities with the same interior finishes on every home in the entire community. So whether it may be a perfect spot for you, great school district and everything, but you have to realize that your neighbor's house is going to look exactly the same. And there's other communities like Cross Creek Meadows, which is a newer community by Taylor Morrison, that Taylor Morrison is the only builder there. So with that, you're probably going to have the same floor plan in the community dozens of times. So you're going to see lots of neighbors with the same house. For a lot of people, this isn't an issue, but for some of you, it may not be something that you like down the road. So I would suggest actually going out to these communities, driving through them front to back, if that's something that bothers you, and just get a feel for the community once again, and not just the lifestyle, but the way things look long term, because you're going to be looking at those houses for quite some time. Some of the communities that I absolutely love that have done an amazing job with variety is Life Farms, Windsong Ranch, Mustang Lakes, and Uptown Celina, the big community coming in downtown Celina, is going to be really, really cool with lots of different builders and variety in a great location. Number 6 is you're probably not going to be walking too much of anything in these areas, and that's not just for Celina, that's in North Dallas as far as the suburbs are concerned in general. So we are not a very walkable place. Not even Dallas is super walkable. We get negative feedback about that. So especially Celina. So if you don't have a vehicle, probably not very well. You're going to have to drive to these locations. So that may be something that's important to you, to look for places like the closest gym, grocery stores, shopping and dining, and what you guys are going to be doing on a regular basis, and see if that's going to fit, especially schools and school sports and those types of things, because it can get a little old after time. I actually live way out in the country, a place called Van Alstyne on the east side, northeast of Van Alstyne. And although I don't mind the commute, at times driving all over DFW can get a little crazy. So you are going to have to drive, because these communities, while they are very walkable inside the communities to places like the pool, they may have a coffee shop, maybe they have a gym, but you're going to need a lot more things than just that. So a car is very, very important. We do not have any DART or rail system like Plano and Dallas are going to have, Richardson. Now, if you do want to be in a more walkable area to downtown Celina, the new community, the Uptown Celina, is going to be a massive location. They're supposed to be building some trails and everything that you can actually drive your golf cart on and go to downtown and different shops and things like that. So while this is not completed yet, I do see it getting better in the future in some of these communities. Number 7 is inventory can move fast and you want to be ready. So I know we are in a slowdown period as far as the market goes, but just in the last couple days before filming this video, rates have actually dropped pretty significantly. And in these communities, you probably already know, they are offering insane incentives. We're getting having $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 in closing costs, interest rates in the 4s and sometimes in the 3%. I even got a 2.99 temporary rate for a client that had a bad credit score here recently. So with that being said, a lot of these really cool houses that are priced right are actually moving pretty fast, especially in the top communities that people have grown to know and love, or if it's a brand new community that has a lot of hype around it, those homes will sell very, very quick. And another thing to realize is that the days on market are not always accurate. So a lot of people will send me a home, they're saying, hey, this has been on the market for 150 days, we should be able to get this amazing deal. Well, a lot of times builders will post the days on market or will start before the home is even built. So they've just done the foundation, they post it online, they put a cartoon rendering of the home, and there's actually no home there. So it's listed the entire time the home is built. So even though it has 150 days on market, that home may not even be complete yet. Another thing to note is that I've worked with just about every builder in Dallas multiple times, and some builders are willing to negotiate further than others. One of the reasons being is because some builders will not post their final price, some builders will post their final price, and some are just more willing to get rid of inventory. And that changes from month to month, just like incentives do. So that's why it's important to have somebody in your corner to know exactly where these builders can go as far as pricing and incentives. We can actually see the comps while somebody coming in and basically talking to the sales rep, and that's the only person they're talking to. They're just basically taking the builder and the sales rep's word. They basically work for just the builder and they do not represent you. So it's important to have somebody in your corner that actually can see the numbers and see what's going on in the market at that time. Number 8 is school zones are confusing and changing all the time. So if you're somebody who's looking to move to Celina, but you want to be in Prosper ISD, you have to make sure you're choosing a neighborhood that's going to be located in Prosper ISD. So that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that these larger suburban areas actually share a ton of school districts. So for instance, McKinney shares a school district with Melissa, Prosper, Frisco, etc. So just because you live in Celina does not mean you're going to Celina schools. Big suburban areas are going to have really great schools and not so great schools. So that's one of the things that we can look at on our end. A lot of people will use niche.com or greatschools.com if you want to search on your own. I really am not a huge fan of these grading systems or whatever they have. I think there's too much emphasis. I think a lot of it has to do with money and things like that as far as their school ratings. But I know a lot of communities that don't have the best ratings are smaller areas, and they actually have amazing schools. And I know a ton of the teachers, superintendents, and that kind of thing that are actually fantastic, and kids that have graduated from there and gone on to amazing universities and got degrees. So as Celina is a smaller area that is up and coming, slated to be bigger than Frisco, I think that in time, these areas or these school systems will be just as good, if not better, than their neighboring areas like Prosper, because Prosper and Frisco get all the hype, and that's why their prices are absolutely outrageous, in my opinion. So I think Celina is a good bet for long term for the schools to only get better as far as the ratings go. Number 9 is there is really not much to do at night. So most people that are going to be looking to move to a place like this are going to look for a family-oriented, safe place to live. They're not really worried about the nightlife scene, but if you are, it's not going to be the best option for you. Of course, you have downtown Celina and other commercial places that are coming soon, but those places are usually going to close down around 10 p.m. They may have some concerts in downtown that are really cool and enjoyable, but if you're looking for something that you can go do late at night, you're going to have to commute to do so. So you're going to be going to places like Frisco, Plano, maybe even Dallas or Fort Worth for something like that. But like I said, most people that move here are young families or older families, and if they do go do something like that, it's usually very seldom for an anniversary, and they're not worried about commuting to do so. So I don't see Celina ever being a place that has a real nightlife scene, but Frisco has just about everything under the sun, and then the neighboring communities around there do as well, and that's really not too bad of a commute. Number 10 is that Celina isn't all that cheap anymore. They have some of the most expensive neighborhoods in all of DFW, but with that, they do still have some affordable options and more affordable options coming soon. But as this place continues to grow and develop and more things come, those prices are going to continue to rise over time. And if you look at the neighboring cities, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Places like Frisco and Prosper are some of the most expensive areas in Dallas. But if you're just looking for a cheap home option, if you're looking to get into the 3s and 400s in Celina, I think you have about maybe a 3 to 5 year window for those to even exist any longer before those are long gone. So you're going to have to adjust your your expectations for the amount of house that you can get in some of these locations. And that's one thing that I bring up to a lot of families. Are you more concerned about quality, or are you more concerned about the size of the home? And each person has a different answer, because there are some incredible builders that are going to build like a 1800 square foot house that costs $500,000+, where down the street you can go with a more affordable builder like Meritage Homes or D.R. Horton, History Maker, and get a home that's 2,500, 3,000 square feet for that same price as that 1,800 square foot house. So it just depends on what you're looking for, the type of quality and the lifestyle that you want to live. And I would say, to get the best deal, I would look in a lot of these communities that are brand spanking new, or just maybe a year or two in. Those are basically on the ground floor. They're in the first phase, maybe the second phase, where they bought the land the cheapest. They're in these rural areas and they don't have a ton of buyers. Due to that, they're going to give you the best deals, the best incentives to get you in those houses. So I built a home in the northeast side of McKinney, Melissa ISD, and it was a super rural area. Everybody was like, that's just too far. I'm not paying for anything out there. And I built a 3,000 square foot house for around $300,000, and that thing doubled in value in 4.5 years in a very rural location of McKinney. So the same thing is going to be happening in Celina, because it's slated to be bigger than Frisco, and we all know Frisco is a massive location. Number 11 is HOAs can be a blessing or a headache. Now, I know how people usually feel about HOAs. Most people absolutely hate them, because you're buying a house, you're spending all this money, you own it. Why should anybody have a say in what your home looks like? And basically it's there to protect the value of your home and make sure your neighbors don't park an 18-wheeler in the front yard, because I have seen it multiple times. But if you're looking in Celina or any of these northern suburbs that are master plan communities, they are all going to be in HOAs. HOAs are going to cover basically everything in the community that's not directly on somebody's lot. So all the common areas, the signs in the front, the pools, the playgrounds, the walking trails, just to make sure everything is nice. You'll see people there periodically planting flowers, making sure everything looks good, the yard's mowed, and that type of thing. So that's where your money's going. And if you absolutely do not want an HOA, you're probably going to have to look in outskirts cities or in communities that are on 1 acre lots. I help a lot of people with those 1 acre communities, and some of those only have deed restrictions but no formal HOA, so it's a little less restrictive. You can build a shop and those types of things, but it's a completely different lifestyle. Number 12 is that it's still the suburbs, and that's the point. This is not going to be a major city with skyscrapers, nightlife, and all that type of stuff that some people are looking for. It is going to have that rural feel for quite some time, and just basically be fit for, families. So that's what it's mainly going to be situated for. And if you like that slower pace of life, good schools, good community, good churches, a place where you can let your kids go out and play and not feel like something bad is going to happen everywhere you go, Celina is going to be an absolutely fantastic place. They have one of the best downtowns around, or they're always doing community events. There's so many things to do with families, and if you're having trouble making friends, Celina is going to be a great place for you. And if you're commuting from, areas all over the country, all over the world, there's a good chance that one of your neighbors is going to be from the exact same place. For instance, I just helped multiple different couples from Orange County, California, and then multiple couples from Colorado that moved into the exact same neighborhood and became friends shortly after moving in. So that's why it's so important to have somebody in your corner that lives here. It helps tons of family members move here, knows exactly what you're looking for as far as your lifestyle, the home, the amenities, and moving your family across country is a huge, huge deal. So that's why it's so important to have somebody in your corner. I know that a lot of you don't want to fly back and forth once going under contract, so I take care of a lot of these walkthroughs, do video tours, and everything virtually for you, so you don't have to make those trips. So remember to give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email, and I would love to help you and your family make a smooth move to Dallas. Hope to see you around town, and make sure you check out this next video for all things in North Dallas.